You say in the introduction, very interesting thing, the poetic lines of the Hamziya unfold in a highly stylized Arabic that uses many schemes and tropes that are characteristic of the Arabic rhetorical tradition. Now, that's a very, very sophisticated tradition. So how on earth do you approach a translation into English in light of these great challenges? Because is it thought for thought, or is it you can't have a literal translation, presumably?
Right. So George Steiner, who wrote After Babel, which is just about language and all the problems that are inherent in translation also, he mentions that translators invariably have to choose whether they will remain true to the idioms of the language that they're translating from, and therefore risking the chance of it sounding strange in the language they're translating into, or do they attempt to really make it natural in the language? So in my early period of translation, I think I adhered to that first school, but in the for some time now, I prefer the second school, which is trying to find the most. I'll give you an example. Dr. Cleary, in his Quran translation about Moses, it says, "Astakhaffa qawmuhu fa'ata'uhu." So if you look at that verse, it's a very difficult verse to translate, just because of the nature of istighfaf. What does that mean? But he translated. He made their people flippant, and so they went along with him, or they went along with it, and so. He could have said, and they obeyed him, but a lot of people don't associate obedience with willingness. They see it because in our English language we forget that obedience is always willing. Most people can see it as coercion. So he could have used obedience, but to say they went along with it is, I think, a much more natural way to convey that meaning. And then to say flippant, which is a type of, it's characterized by levity, and the word istighfaf means to make somebody light. So he found what Flaubert calls le mot juste, right? It's that perfect word, and I think for any translator, you're looking for le mot juste. You're looking for that word that is really going to get as close as possible to the intention of the author. And it takes a lot of time. It's very difficult. For me, I mean, I'm fortunate that I did get to study Latin and Greek, and so I tend to try to find words that have a similar meaning in the root systems. So those are the type of things I look for, because the root system in Arabic is really sophisticated. So it takes a lot of time. I mean, I spent many years on this. I spent many years on the Tahawiyya. I spent a lot of time on that and really worked. Just to give you a good example, in the Tahawiyya it uses the word wasa', which is kind of, it's a very interesting word, but I use the word capacity because the Latin root for capacity is almost identical meaning to the Arabic root for wasa'. So those are the type of things that, somebody who obviously appreciates translation would appreciate those things, but most people I don't think will.
And it seems how close translation is to an art. It's not a mechanical something that AI could do. We're doing with something that is...
AI is getting pretty good at it. It's a little scary. Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel that if things are headed the way I'm seeing them, because I've been watching these translation as a translator concerned about losing my purpose. I actually do see translators increasingly becoming editors, because I do think it's getting incredibly sophisticated, and I'm seeing it in the Arabic and also in Persian. But we'll see. I think my own experience with reading AI-generated things is that there's something missing.
Absolutely.
I don't know what it is. I feel it. Even the generated images, there's something just very hollow.
It's very numb and
soulless.
And sterile and soulless. Exactly.
I think it is soulless.
Yes, that's a good word, actually. Yeah, I really get that sense. And there's something slightly off-putting about it after a while. You get used to the kind of feel of it, and it's plastic, soulless, and no, thank you. And that is a nice segue, actually, into another quote from your introduction.
But I will, before we do that, I think one of the things, the tradition that he was working is a bidi'iyat. So traditional Arabic rhetoric is a very, very well developed because the traditional position of the scholars was the Quran was a rhetorical miracle, that it had reached a level of rhetorical prowess that was inimitable by human convention. Which is why in Sheikh Muhammad Yaqubi's introduction, he says that, setting aside the Quran and the Hadith, which can't be imitated, the highest aspiration for an Arab in eloquence is poetry. Yeah. So the Badi'iyat tradition, which is Safiuddin al-Hilli, really kind of starts this tradition, which came out of Imam al-Busiri's Burda, actually. And so the Badi'iyat is used, the Mimiyya. And these, Badi' is the third aspect of Arabic rhetoric, because they divide rhetoric into these three areas, which one deals with schemes, and then you look at, so schemes would be the sentence structures, right. Like to be or not to be is a scheme, right? Or ask not what you can do for, what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. That's a classic type of scheme in the sentence structure. And then you have like isti'ara, you have majaz, these type, what we call metonymy, synecdoche, these type of rhetorical tropes where you use metaphor. He's a lion. I mean, he's not literally a lion, but obviously it conveys something about his courage, or Richard the Lion-Hearted. So translating these from Arabic is not always easy, because they have a very different, although there are many areas that are similar. So antithesis, for instance, what we call tibaq, like when you do opposites, sama and ard, which is very common in the Quran. You can do those type of things, but then they have a lot of puns, they have a lot of word plays. The Arab poets love wordplay. And those are very, I mean, I actually, in the notes, I say, this is lost in translation.
It's like Shakespeare's often, it puns his way through his plays.
Constantly.
Which often are quite unfashionable by today's standards.
Get thee to a punnery, right? Because the nunnery was a hot, it was a house of ill repute.
So you say in your introduction, the elegance and eloquence of the language can only be compared